Hello and welcome back to TNWKS, the Now We Know show, the show where we discuss a topic of interest and by the end we will have learnt something new and hopefully you will too. I'm Zak.
I'm Buzz.
And I'm Jack. And this week we're going to be talking about the world of gaming.
Gaming.
If you enjoy the Now We Know Show podcast, support Zak Wylde Productions on Patreon or join our members on YouTube for early access, ad-free content and exclusive episodes.
So before we get into the main chunk of the episode, which will be primarily about gaming, I've come up with a new segment.
Hey!
That,
You're always keen to bring in new segments, aren't you?
Everyone loves the Now We Know Show segment.
Okay.
So
what
we're
is it
going to
this time,
slice
Jack?
off a small segment and we're going to explore the new segment. Okay, so the segment I've come up with is called Weird and Wonderful.
Oh, that needs a jingle. Let's try it. Weird and wonderful! Well, that worked.
Yeah, I quite
Yeah,
like
that was nice. I
There we
like
go.
it.
And what's weird and wonderful about?
So, Weird and Wonderful is kind of like a small segment we're going to do in various shows where we basically find an interesting conspiracy, news story, or just something that's kind of piqued
Weird
our
or
interest.
wonderful?
I
Weird or
do
wonderful.
know that a lot of our listeners do like the old conspiracy theories.
Yes.
Okay.
So anything, if any of us come up with or see some
Okay,
kind
well,
of...
since you're punting this
Yes.
one,
I'll
what
start-
have you got? You've
I'll
got to start this off.
So, the first Weird and Wonderful story that's caught my eye this week.
Mhm.
Google Maps users convinced they've discovered hidden Nazi base deep in Antarctica.
Ooh, that's interesting.
Is that funny?
It's because I've seen a really low budget film that's
Yeah.
around that premise.
Yeah.
Okay. So they've been scanning Google Maps.
Yes, so Google Maps users believe they have found a so-called Nazi bunker after spotting what appears to be a secret door hidden in Antarctica,
Ooh.
There's a lot of movies that's a thing.
where they suggest Hitler may have survived the war.
Wow.
Nazis at the centre of the earth,
Wow.
much, right?
I did spot one today which was saying that strange structures have been found on the far side of the moon, so maybe
Right.
they're connected.
Mm.
There's another movie in there.
Yeah.
Or is it the-
Iron Sky?
Or is it the ice wall door to get past the ice wall?
Oh, wow.
Back to flat Earth.
Who would have thought 64 episodes in we would still be
Going on about the flat
about the
Earth.
flat Earth?
Oh, there you go. So that's our weird and wonderful.
It is a Weird and Wonderful. Do you want to see a photo of the supposed door?
Yeah,
Yeah,
we can
sure.
flash it
Okay,
up.
the hole in Antarctica that Google Maps users believe is a Nazi bunker.
Okay.
It's a shadow.
This is a shadow.
I love it. It's
Okay.
just a slight square shape in a rock.
Yeah. Okay.
With an eye- with an ice-
with no kind of
Discernible features.
Yeah, but I was just because there's no scale either. It could
Yeah.
be 2 inches wide.
Honestly, and I love the fact that automatically that means Hitler would have hidden there after World War II.
That's definitely how that
Survived the
works.
war.
So
Oh, there you go.
That's our first Weird
That's
and
our
Wonderful.
weird and wonderful story of the week.
I like it. I
'Cause,
like it.
We all see these sort of strange news stories crop up.
Yeah, that gives the listeners to the podcast an opportunity to go and chase it up and find it out for
Yes, there we
themselves.
go.
Right, so this week, gaming.
Gaming.
We've been waiting a long time to do this one
Yes.
because there are so many gamers out there, and of course, we are gamers to a certain degree ourselves.
Yes.
So we should, specifically video games as opposed to like, I guess,
Yeah, we'll leave the board games to one
Board game,
side.
yeah.
We're focusing, I think, on video games.
on computer games.
Computer games.
Well, that's the
Yes.
thing. Recently, we've been doing a lot of technology of the future episodes. Like we did 3D printing, AI,
robotics.
yeah. So this kind of falls under that category as well.
Well, it's
Yeah.
kind of, but it's a major leisure pursuit. But also, a lot of countries actually have like Games Olympics now, don't they?
Yeah.
You know, well, there's a lot of money to be made in it.
Yeah, esports is a thing now. Sort of people compete in.
And actually, producing and selling games outstrips movies and things
Yes.
by billions.
by a lot. Yeah, it's one of the biggest industries.
Yeah, it's
in the
crazy.
world, yeah.
You wouldn't think about that, would you?
Mm.
You know, every day you just sort of kind of think the movie industry would be, chucking billions into creating the latest blockbuster.
Well, everyone watches movies. Not everyone plays games, so you'd think it would be.
You would think
yeah.
that, but there's so many actors now that put their names and everything to voiceovers and things. Yeah, it's crazy. So, where are we going with this one?
So I think we should start at the beginning of time.
Start at the very beginning. It's a very good place to start.
So, what are your sort of earliest memories of video games? I think we'll start with Buzz.
Okay, well, with me, I've got to do a shout out to Chaz Albright out there. We met many years ago doing Taekwondo, funnily enough, and it was after doing Taekwondo lessons that we used to nip back to Chaz's house for a nice, refreshing glass of lemonade, and just chilling out. He had an Amiga computer, and I believe it was the Commodore 64.
Right.
Is that the one that took discs?
Did we see
yes,
that?
so that was about the same
Or
time
was
as
it
the
Mega Drive?
Nintendo
Or
64.
something like that.
Did we see that when we went to Mount Fitchett?
Possibly
Toy
in the
museum,
Toy
possibly.
museum.
Oh yeah.
But anyway, and that was the first time that I'd had any contact with that kind of gear, and I remember playing Street Fighter and things on that. It was like the first time, so it became this kind of like little segment that after we did Taekwondo, we'd go back and then have a little battle of Street Fighter. Street Fighter's the one with the guy with the stretchy arms and everything, isn't it? Zip, zip. I think there was a guy like with stretchy arms. in Street Fighter.
Maybe.
Anyway, yeah, but it was. We're going on a little bit. So, by getting introduced to gaming with Chaz, then he was saying, "Oh, you got to get yourself something." And so I went out and my first, I suppose you'd call it, dedicated gaming console was the Sega Master System, which had a built-in game called Alex Kidd in Miracle World.
Nice.
You guys are looking at me blank.
Yeah, I don't know what that is.
It was a very 2D platform
Right.
where you had this character that looked like a kind of little elf, but he had just like this huge arm with a boxing glove on.
Oh, I think I might have
And
seen.
he's just like guiding him around these mazes, and he's just like punching,
Oh my god.
punching fish and punching things, bop, 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 and it was. I played that into the wee hours. It was like the most amazing thing ever. To play Alex Kidd in Miracle World.
And was that at the time? Do you remember that being like quite a sort of futuristic thing, quite advanced?
Because that was cartridge system. So you bought cartridges, and I used to buy. You familiar with the game called Golden Axe? That was quite a popular one.
No, I know GoldenEye.
Right. Well, Golden Axe was one you just slap the cartridge in, and Shinobi was another one which was like ninja style. And most of these were kind of 2D flat scrolling kind of.
Yeah, kind of like
adventure
Super
games.
Mario, but with
weapons. That's it. With the Golden Axe, you could like.
Didn't he have a whip?
Did
he have a whip?
I don't know. Where he had his axe and he had a sword and stuff. You
That
could pick
makes
up
sense.
different stuff. You had, the characters would come towards you, and you could kind of like move up into the screen and towards the screen. If you say, kind of like there was a bit of depth to it.
Oh, nice.
And basically, you had to just get through the levels.
Yeah.
Apart from that, being our first like TV connected game system, then we ended up having the Sega. What was it? The Sega Game Gear, which is the handheld, which just used to eat batteries. And I remember,
It's a big chunky thing.
big chunky thing. I was like enamoured by that, especially playing its own kind of Tetris game, which was called Columns. I used to love that. And then years later, I looked back at one and I thought, God, the screen on it is awful.
Yeah.
How did I play that for so many hours? I'm not surprised I ended up being short-sighted. It's like, probably burnt holes in my retinas.
That's what 4K screens do now.
But of course, we also bought the original Nintendo Game Boy, and that was just fantastic.
Is that the kind of green luminous one?
Yeah.
Wow.
No backlight on it or anything, and it just used to Tetris was it. Once you got into Tetris, because everybody wanted to get the space shuttle to take off at the end. When you got
What is this? This is news to me.
You never got that. You play, you rack up so many points, things would occur, and one of them was you get so high you could launch a space shuttle.
What?
It would launch up the screen.
Tetris was the first game to be played in space as well.
That is the tune.
I mean,
Repeat.
and repeat until you're dreaming Tetris. That was the thing. You'd go to bed and literally dream Tetris, and you'd be getting line after line, and you would dream it and never actually manage to finish. You'd wake up and you go, ah!
Didn't you have like Tetris like parties in Lincolnshire with the family?
Yeah, we used to have Tetris challenges and stuff. Now, so they were the consoles before I went to probably the first proper console, which would have been PlayStation 1. Apart from that, I didn't have a computer in the early days, but obviously people did play computer games, and your cousin Alex, he had a computer, and we used to play things, small games on there, like, do you remember that elf one.
Elf Bowl.
Elf bowling. Little games like that.
I
on
like the
computer.
second one where you pull them back by the pants.
By the G-strings and
You fling them down the end of...
down the deck of a ship. Things like that.
You can shoot the penguins as well.
That's it.
And sink the iceberg.
Sink the iceberg. See, they're great little memories. Sometimes those really simple games are the ones that stick in
And
your mind.
Bookworm, of course.
Bookworm, yeah, again, another one on the computer, which in later years I managed to get an American cartridge copy that will fit into the Nintendo.
That's the Nintendo Advance.
Advance, yes.
SP?
Yeah,
Something like that.
So,
That used to be mine.
Yeah, it used
That
to be
used to
yours.
be mine, yeah.
So yeah, I'll probably say for me that was my introduction to gaming up until getting what I would consider the first proper dedicated, more advanced system, which was the PS1.
Right.
Which I've still got, the original one.
Yeah. Now, for me, I probably became a thing towards the end of that. And I definitely remember the PS2.
Yeah, so we're quite similar in terms of...
Yeah, specifically Time Splitters. I remember having a lot of fun with that.
Right, in that case, I'm going to jump back in here and just finish off with the PlayStation 1.
Okay.
Because I remember I was so excited to get this PS1, and the adverts were on the TV for it, and all this. It was the biggest thing going. Think about it. It's just like this completely new thing you can plug in your TV. And I did skip over because it would have been back in the 70s, maybe late 70s. We had one of the TV games, which was the ping pong. That's where you used to knock the ball across the screen.
Was that one of those like little plug-in things?
Yeah, and you just had a dial to make it go up and down the screen.
That was the first ever video game.
Yeah, you've reminded me of that. So that would have been the first one back in the 70s. And it actually had a light gun with it because we could play when you go clay pigeon shooting, you used to get one of the squares would go across the screen. And then you'd use the light gun to shoot it. So yeah, that would actually that would have been
that's pretty advanced.
The first one. So, but coming back to the PlayStation 1 before we jump onto PlayStation 2, it was going and buying that miracle machine and plugging it in, and it came with a demo disc as well, which had Destruction Derby on it and things like that. And you suddenly, you're in this three-dimensional world rather than the flat 2D screen.
What is this? It's like you're stepping into another dimension.
Destruction Derby was just such an amazing game.
Wasn't there a skateboarding one or something where you can run over rabbits?
Yeah. Now that game was called Road Rash. It wasn't just skateboards. You had motorbikes and things.
Oh, did you?
Again, it was very flat in its graphics. We used to literally zoom down roads and...
It was just moving like left to right, wasn't it?
Left to right and trying to hit people with chains. And if you ran over a rabbit, you got extra points. It was hilarious.
I think it was very simple graphics in terms of when you see it now. I think it's something. I think it's called polygons. I think is the sort of technical term for the graphics.
It rapidly got better because very soon after we got the PlayStation, then we started getting games like one of my all-time favourites, which still is my all-time favourite racing game, and that was Wipeout. But the original Wipeout if you hit the wall, you used to stick to the wall.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
It really slowed you down. But I'm just going to go back to the point you said about the black discs. Okay, the thing I found with the black discs is you could actually put them in a CD player and play the music tracks off them.
What?
Yeah, I remember this.
And
yeah.
that was,
I did not know that.
That's
great.
Really
cool.
That was great because with the original Wipeout, you had all these techno tracks on there, and it was like, this is superb. So I just stick it in my CD player, and then
driving down the road, crashing into people,
listen to all this Wipeout music. That was really good fun. And of course, again, talking about the PlayStation 1, you start then getting the games which are more in that 3D environment, which are like Tomb Raider.
Yeah.
Which again,
you gotta love Tomb Raider.
If you go back to the original Tomb Raider, it was very blocky looking. If you look at it now, with very pointy
breasts,
polygon boobs and stuff like this. But you suddenly had this environment that you could take your own, because obviously you're used to like things scrolling. And generally, you just have to keep up with the scroll.
Yeah.
The game is moving itself, and you're having to move your ship, your character, whatever.
Like Crash Bandicoot. Do you ever play that?
Yeah, Crash Bandicoot. You could kind of stop and take your time on that for moments, but with having Lara Croft and Tomb Raider, you could climb up walls, you could jump, you could swing the POV around, the point of view, so you could like look around, look up, and that was great.
And that's just like fundamental to all games now.
Yeah. So that was really like the building blocks of. You look at the games we have now, and it's still there. That you can see the
Yeah.
roots of where it
And
came from.
did you have the controller with the analog sticks or just the button?
Originally it was without
Yeah.
the analog sticks, and that was again another leap forward to be able to have that. And I also had and I can't remember the name of the gun, but there was a light gun that everybody wanted. It was a big chunky grey light gun.
Oh yeah, for the PS1.
Yeah, and I cannot think of the name of it.
We
but,
had that game, shoot something.
Oh yeah.
It might have actually just been called Shoot.
Oh,
It's inventive.
But the light gun, the light gun games to get my teeth in were really good fun on it. It was just like a shooting arcade.
Completely silly. Completely
Completely
silly.
silly. And again, they progressed up to the zombie ones with the light guns. What was
Yeah.
that zombie one they had?
House of the Dead.
What now?
No,
on
no,
the
no.
PS3?
No, it was on the. I think was it PS1 or PS2? I do remember we were still using the grey gun for it.
Because later on we get
it
the
was like it was one of the
PlayStation Move, which
It was,
is on the
It
PS3.
was one of the first arcade conversions. It was initially an arcade game, and then it came on to the PlayStation. I'm sure it was a PlayStation 1.
Yeah.
Where
They started.
people were hiding behind cars, and you used to be
Yeah,
shooting them.
I know what you
and then
mean.
it'd take you to the next bit,
Yeah.
and
It was very much like an arcade game in that
Yeah.
everything
This
would move
is
around you.
really like I'm
Yeah.
scraping
But
my
anyway,
memory right now.
So we had these fantastic games coming out, and it was this whole world that suddenly opened up that never existed before.
Yeah.
You know, and as I say, I had the PlayStation magazine, and then I look forward to every month getting the demo discs because I've still got stacks and
Yeah,
stacks. of
you
them.
got to
Yeah, we've got a
preview the
few.
games.
And so you got the previewed games, and then sometimes you could play A level.
Yeah.
Or sometimes you could just watch like an intro. I remember there was one that was a sci-fi one that blew me away at the time. I think it was called DEFCON 5 or DEFCON 4, which had a space shuttle that was landing on the. Oh man, it was just going through this complex. It was like, I want to play this game. It looks amazing. You know?
There's a really good jumping forward a little bit to the PlayStation 5.
Wow, that's really forward.
That's okay. We can bounce backwards and forwards.
As the kind of preloaded, I guess it's sort of a demo. There's a game called Astro's Playroom.
I've seen it. Yes.
Had a little play.
And it's if you play through it, you it starts paying homage to like the older classics like PS1, PS2.
It does.
Right.
It does.
So you start collecting the consoles
Oh, really?
and the sort of accessories.
That
and
sounds fun.
And there's a secret ending where you unlock one of the T-Rex.
Spoilers.
From Tomb Raider.
It's just basically one of the first demo discs was a
right.
T-Rex that
Yeah,
you
it
could
was.
use.
You could basically flip it upside down and look
Yeah.
around as it was walking.
Yeah.
You could move it around. It was to show the power of the
Yeah.
graphics.
So the final boss battle in Astro's Playroom is you fight that exact
T-Rex.
T-Rex.
Oh man! Now you want us to go and revisit.
So it is
that.
really good fun.
Oh, I want to do a playthrough video or something. That'd be awesome.
Yeah. So, coming on, then you guys sort of come in at that PS2.
PS2, PS3,
I
definitely.
definitely had PlayStation 1.
Yeah, I
but
was going to say, did you actually play on the?
I played the PS2, it was yours.
Used to be able to play the PS1 games. I'm sure it did.
Yeah.
So you can still use the back catalogue.
From what I remember of the PS2, I majoritively played Time Splitters.
I love that game. Time Splitters. Was
All
awesome.
three of them. All
Yeah.
three of them were on PS2.
Yeah,
They were really good.
They were in fact, I got rid of our PS2,
Right.
and then in later years, a friend of mine was selling these little because the consoles got smaller.
Yeah, the slim.
Like a slim
line one, and I managed to get that off him for a few quid, and I was really pleased because I kept all the discs.
Yeah.
Of
So I
course.
could
yeah.
go back and play Time Splitters again.
Oh,
You know,
amazing.
So it's just a
I've
good
got
game.
very early.
Or Lego Star Wars.
Okay,
I've got
I've got a
very-
quote. I've got to do a quote. It was Time Splitters 2. There's that wonderful quote. Do you remember what it is? They made you do what, like a monkey?
No, it's not Time Splitters
Wasn't
2. Time Splitters Future Perfect was the third one.
Right, where he keeps meeting himself.
Yeah.
That's it. They made you do what, like a monkey? That was a classic. That was an absolute classic.
So I have very early memories of PlayStation 1 because my older sisters would have had it
Yeah.
and my dad probably had it. And then I think PS2 was when I first sort of started playing through games properly when I was a bit younger. PlayStation 1, I think I was still a bit too young to sort of know what I was doing. Whereas PlayStation 2, I remember the Medal of Honor games, which were kind of like World War II.
Are they kind of Call of Duty-esque?
They were Call of Duty just slightly before Call of Duty. So they
Right.
were like the precursor, but it was very basic. Like you couldn't really... I remember being blown away when you could aim down the barrel of the gun
Right.
because it was just you literally point the gun to where you want to shoot and then
Okay. So
shoot.
you were seeing from behind the carriage.
Yeah, so it was the first. It's called a first-person shooter.
Yeah.
So you see the guy holding the gun, and then you're obviously like fighting the Japanese. I think it was like
So you could drop into that position where you're looking down the gun.
yeah. Yeah, that blew my mind when I could
Well,
look
it's
down
kind
the
of
sight.
the way they went with Wipeout, because you could fly the ship from behind or fly the ship from in the cockpit. You could just basically jump between the.
We're definitely going to have to get you on the PlayStation VR because
I love.
you can
Well, that was my problem. See,
fulfill your dream of sitting in a Wipeout car.
I that would be silly.
Wow.
It's the only
It's not a car; it's an anti-grav vehicle.
it's the only VR game that's made me feel queasy.
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
I used to,
What an achievement.
I'm just trying to think of the names of the different crafts because I haven't. Was it AEG? That was
Oricom.
Oricom.
Pfizer.
Piranha. One of them was the
Yeah,
Piranha.
Piranha.
Pfizer, isn't that?
Pfizer.
Uh,
Well, come on.
Maybe they do
COVID jab.
Pfizer, yeah.
well. Maybe.
Maybe, but no, I love the fact for me. And I'm going to bang on about Wipeout, but that was the problem I
Good
had
game.
with playing racing games because yes, you had Destruction Derby. There was one later on which I think was PS3, was it? Which was the
Motorstorm.
Motorstorm, which I love that. But with the driving games, for me, they never seem to really represent driving a four-wheel vehicle or even a two-wheel vehicle. They just don't feel the same. But with Wipeout, because it's not meant to be a car, it's meant to be an anti-grav vehicle, and you're floating, it just was so much slicker.
You
so
could
much
very well
faster.
be controlling it with sort of a games controller,
Yeah,
not a
And-
steering
and-
wheel.
And the fact is, the fact you could like drop mines, do the quake, machine
Leech
guns, leech beam, shields,
Rockets.
I said, you do a good impression of the shields.
Bomb.
Bomb.
Well,
What
there's
was it? Shield activated. You know.
there's people that obviously play like games like Gran Turismo and Forza, which are more like advanced driving simulators, and they'll go to the extent of buying sort of
Oh gosh, I've seen the
setups,
seats. Yeah, I've
the
seen
wheels, the
seats.
pedals, and things like that. Quite relevantly, there is a Gran Turismo film coming out at the cinema, and that is actually based on the video game and people who use the driving simulator to simulate the tracks, and then they go and enter an actual racing
Yeah, 'cause
tournament.
I've heard that people compete in these.
Yeah, and a lot of their setups are very advanced with
Didn't
like
they do
sort of
a
gears and
similar
everything.
thing for Need for Speed? Was that another one?
Possibly, yeah. But like we were saying, like with these racing games, obviously people are buying accessories to make the games even more immersive.
So-
have you ever bought any sort of accessories other
Would
than the
that
guns?
kind of translate like the gaming controls, like X square, whatever, into like a wheel? Is that how it works?
It's some sort of configuration. I remember the very early. We did have a steering wheel, like a very basic one that just plugged into the front of the
Just trying to
PlayStation
think,
1.
I don't think that we bought any extra peripherals for the PlayStation.
I know you've got PlayStation 3 and you had the Move, didn't you?
We've got the gun for the
Well,
PlayStation
yeah,
Move.
you got the Move, and you can put that into the gun and things like that. Yeah, which is good. I like the Move.
Yeah.
And you could use two of those. And
Well, unfortunately, that's kind of been outmoded now by the PSVR.
Well, the VR still uses a similar sort of light
Style.
system, doesn't it? With the
I,
lights.
I think we're jumping again. I want to bring it back.
Yeah.
Okay, because you mentioned out the studio about platform games, and particularly I think it was Medieval.
Medieval, I remember
So that
playing,
was-
on the PlayStation 1.
So Zach, what about
Is
you?
that
The one where the guy is a resurrected
Yeah.
skeleton corpse?
That was interesting because I was actually looking like games up because I recently got a PS5,
Yeah.
and that was one of the ones that came up as a PS4 game.
They basically remastered it. So they went back.
Really?
Yeah, so it's the same game.
Yeah.
They've just upped it to PlayStation 4 Pro graphics.
Wow, that's really cool.
Which they did with the Spyro trilogy, Crash Bandicoot. They've done it with quite a few
Yeah,
sort of
Crash
classic
Bandicoot
games.
was one that I really enjoyed playing. I loved Crash Bandicoot, but also Pandemonium. If you ever remember that, that was like a
Is
a
that
court jester.
is that the game where it had those creatures that go duh,
Yes,
duh, duh, duh.
yeah, to like bounce and spin and jump on top of their heads and stuff like
Yeah.
that. That's it. Pandemonium. I love the music on Pandemonium.
Yeah,
The
I've got a
problem
vague
is-
recollection. Yeah,
Playing Pandemonium was one of these things. So again, for all those people listening, before we jump so far ahead,
Yeah.
when you completed a level, it gave you like a 10-digit level code
Right.
that you had to write down.
So if you wanted to revisit that
So if
level,
you needed to go back to the level you wanted, you had
Yeah.
to enter that code really manually, because
Yeah.
obviously you had to do it on your controller, just so that you could then start
Revisit,
playing that.
yeah.
that's the thing.
That
Wasn't
was such a pain.
wasn't that a similar thing with? I think it was called Alien Trilogy. Was that a PS1 game?
Yeah, and I would have said that was very similar to probably Lara Croft, because in Lara Croft you had to get to the triangular crystal to make it was like it had like a crystal floating in certain areas, which would give you a checkpoint, And if you didn't get to that checkpoint and you
You'd go-
died, you had to go all the way back to the last checkpoint.
Oh,
And
no.
it's like, thankfully, games these days are
They usually like respawn like
Yeah.
fairly close to where you died.
Where you died, yeah.
So everything's sort of advanced pretty sort of quickly since the PlayStation 1, would say. PS2?
Maybe we should jump in here
Mm.
again. We're talking PlayStation, but do you guys have any recollections of what also came out? Because I was focused on PlayStation.
Yeah.
PlayStation.
Yeah, I know that
PlayStation user,
Xbox was a big
PlayStation
thing.
magazine. So what was
Xbox was
it's
a big
always-
thing as well.
So it's always been, for me, it's always been like the battle between Xbox and PlayStation because they're
when did the Nintendo? Because I would have thought Nintendo would
So-
have come out. Because Nintendo
Yeah.
Game Boy,
Yeah.
you had obviously Tetris and stuff and Donkey Kong, but I remember the Nintendo console must
Yeah.
have come out.
So-
That was the Wii, wasn't it?
yeah. So
No, it's before the Wii.
Was there another one?
Yeah, there was a Nintendo with the cartridges before the Wii, wasn't there?
so there's an N64,
Okay,
which is like
maybe that's the one I'm thinking
yeah. So it's always, for me, it's always been like the kind of, are you a PlayStation or Xbox person?
of. Right.
But at the same time, you had things like the Nintendo Wii, and you had games, sort of portable games consoles, like you had the PSP,
Yeah.
which was a PlayStation
Did you have one of
product.
those, Jack?
I didn't have a PSP.
We had a PSP.
Yeah. Well,
We
it's
had,
you mainly, but yeah. I like that.
We
It was
also
good, it was
saw,
good.
obviously, like Game Boy. Then you got into Nintendo DS, which was the first sort of touchscreen sort of game
Yes.
handheld game console.
So when
Yes.
it comes to the Nintendos, you went through several of those because they kept
Yeah.
changing the models, didn't they? So you had the original Nintendo Game Boy,
Mhm.
and then when I remember one that was like a flip screen.
The flip screen with
That
like
was the
the
Game Boy.
stylus, that was the Nintendo DS.
Right,
Yeah.
that had two screens on it, didn't
They
it?
had
Yeah.
two screens.
And then you also had the Nintendo 3DS, which was the
That was when I tapped out. I
Yeah,
didn't get that
so-
one.
What about the Advance? That was the little one, didn't
So
That
it?
was the little black one.
Yeah. So yeah,
so Game Boy Advance was the square that you'd flip
the
up,
screen.
and you'd have a color screen. Game
that
Boy
was the
Advance
one
color.
that I got that game Bookworm I mentioned cartridge for that. But yeah, so at the same time, I didn't want the whole podcast to go about PlayStation, but the thing was, there's
Yeah.
lots happening.
We're very much PlayStation people, okay?
Lots happening on lots of different platforms, probably all trying to outcompete each other.
Yeah.
And it was always a battle, wasn't it, for the next kind of PlayStation?
It was like the Xbox 360
then
and
the
things.
next, yeah, the next Xbox, because Xbox Microsoft, isn't it?
Yeah.
Microsoft is
Yeah.
Xbox.
It's Sony
So-
and Microsoft. isn't it?
Whereas I got the feeling with Nintendo, they kind of cornered their own market with things like Mario and
It
They
kind of felt like
Are they Final Fantasy?
That's sort of
Is that
on
Nintendo?
everything, really. But
Okay, but okay. Well, what was the other ones that pushed on the Nintendo? Because I felt that
Zelda and things. that were-
Zelda, that's
Yeah.
it. Zelda's what I'm thinking of, because they kind of cornered the market for more of the child games,
Yeah, I think
child-friendly games,
fact
and
they were,
family games. Yeah, the more
Yeah.
because with you mentioned the Wii,
yeah.
it was all kind of like cartoony tennis. All the characters on it tend to be more cartoony.
Yeah.
Nintendo is a much more sort of family orientated sort of game system. I think they're sort of push for like when you have like Mario Kart, it's like you get the whole family around to play Mario and Mario Party and Wii Sports and things like.
Yeah.
So I think Nintendo were very much like for
Again-
a family console. as
Again, with
opposed
some
to-
of those driving games, when you had like the little cars, you kind of got it was on the PlayStation. You got like an over top view, but if one person got further away from everybody else, you kind of like you had to try and catch them up because you couldn't have if you're playing and it's not split screen, you couldn't.
Yeah.
You had to try and stay on the same. It's got very, very strange, some of the games that came out.
Do you have any sort of memories of like two-player experience games? Because obviously nowadays
Yes.
it's very much primarily online. You very rarely nowadays get anything called
Okay.
couch co-op, which is sort of where you're.
Couch co-op, I like that.
So the term is
cooperative, couch
yeah.
games.
So
Well-
the term is couch co-op. So you have a friend round and you give them a controller and you can
Well,
play this.
Okay, so
They were the days, weren't they, Jack?
yeah, I
But-
used to carry on, Jack.
Sorry.
Carry on.
But nowadays we're predominantly online because obviously people just have the console and they probably
Yeah.
want the money for online for
Okay.
a start.
Yeah.
And you can play games with up to like 64 people,
Right, okay.
all in the same lobbies.
Okay, so let's head back to your question. Yes, I remember initially playing split screen. Again, things like Time Splitters and Doom, the original Doom.
You could do split screen on that.
I'm sure you could. Or maybe not Doom, but I'll get back to Doom.
Was it like a
Let's
LAN
do it.
party where you could like plug your consoles into each other?
Yeah, so what we used to do
Is that what that
the
means?
split screen was okay, but it was annoying because when people knew like the layout of an arena, they could see where you were trying to hide because they knew where you were.
Call of Duty right
Yeah,
there.
quite there. So what in the good old days, as I call it, what we used to do is yomp down another CRT TV, slap that behind another TV in the kitchen or dining room, and you'd be sitting there on 2 separate televisions, so you couldn't see the other person. And that was when we used to play Doom, and that was like brilliant playing Doom. And I think there was another one called Unreal Tournament.
Yeah.
I don't know if that rings a bell.
I mean, even Doom now,
that was very jumpy. You could jump the characters around.
Doom has been remastered now. You can play that online.
There's a lot of Doom games. Isn't there?
Yeah.
Yeah, but back-to-back TVs. That was great fun.
Just as a general consensus, did we prefer like multiplayer games or kind of like your solo adventures?
I would always prefer like single player games, just because it meant that I could play at my own pace and explore and do things like this. Whereas
that's me.
Yeah,
I'd say a mix. I like playing online with you,
which
especially
we've
on the PS5.
recently started doing.
Yeah, which is really fun on that Aliens Fireteam Elite, which is really good.
But again, we're very much doing it just 2 players, and we're going through it at our own pace. Whereas you get these big online servers, like Call of Duty, which
Call of Duty Warzone, where it's like
probably hundreds of people all playing all at different levels, so you're getting sniped and all sorts.
Okay, so jumping forward to the PS3, that was where we first got the online headset, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
Now,
wow.
So we bought
Alien versus Predator.
We love the Alien movies. We love the Predator movies. And so when you bring out a game which is both Aliens and Predator that you can play, and you can play either Alien or a Predator, and then you find
Or a human.
Or a human.
But who wants to do that?
You play one of the colonial marines. So then you find you can go online. Hey! So I bought Zak a headset. I can't remember how old you were. You weren't that old. We're going online.
This was like 2010, I think.
Yeah, we're going online, and there's people, and they're foul-mouthing at everybody. They're screaming. And I remember him playing with this one guy, and now Zak has literally just got hold of the controls, and he's spinning around on the spot, and he's like shooting a gun left, right, and centre, up there. And this other guy is screaming at him down the headset, saying, "What the bleep are you think you're bleeping doing? You're bleeping playing like a bleeping girl." That's not my words. That was his. Bleep bleep. And I'm thinking, hang on a minute, my son is like a minor at this point, you know, and that was an area I didn't like, because there was so much anger, so much swearing,
just hidden behind the screen.
Yeah, and I'm thinking, my God, if you've got these kids that are playing these games
growing up in this environment,
and they're having this pumped into their straight into their heads,
that can be have quite a negative
swearing at
effect
them,
on
and-
someone.
Oh man, of course it can, and of course
It's not an enjoyable experience for a game.
You've got what is a game, but it becomes a real kind of like challenge, but then it becomes you could sort of like feel you are becoming defeated by it, because your people are shouting you down.
You're not playing as well as someone that's had it for
That's it.
years.
And you're getting really upset with yourself because you're not. No, I think that could have led to so many people, bad side of gaming.
Yeah.
Bad side of gaming.
So, like, personally, I don't think that I would ever let something like that get to me, because I've got a pretty thick skin when it comes to that.
I think we saw it.
But I think it's more of a kind of, what if this was
think
somebody else?
A kid that's like saved up his pocket money, or
he wants to enjoy that
Or
experience.
he's got the game for Christmas and he's really enjoying like playing it, and then suddenly he's getting abused.
Screaming at him and swearing at him down the thing, and I thought, this is out of control.
Yeah.
Now I know there's probably there may well have been supposed age restrictions on games. But
to be
that,
fair, you probably shouldn't have been playing it.
That's never going to work, is it?
No.
Never. You cannot manage that in the environment of
unless
people's
it's
houses.
like, well, actually, I don't think you can even have like a PlayStation account unless you're age appropriate, and I think it's like 16 or 18 or something.
Yeah.
But I suppose it's like using social media and things. They say, oh, you can't have an account unless you're over a certain age, and the kids don't get accounts. It's
I mean, the blooming Facebook profile pictures are blooming kids' faces. It's like, what is this?
So anyway.
So online gaming is a bit of a minefield.
A bit of a minefield.
Bit of a minefield.
But if you can get it right, like we've been doing, we have good fun with it.
Well, I want to revisit that in a bit, because so if we're moving kind of into the zone of how games developed, and we're in the PlayStation 3 area,
Probably about 2006 to 2012.
that's when we became introduced to, was it PlayStation World?
Oh god, that's
where you could actually go into this kind
PlayStation Home, I think it was.
Yeah, but you could go, and you could go into.
You could
this,
create an avatar.
and go into this world where you could walk around and people had like their names over their heads.
Yeah.
And you could meet, and then you could go to these different zones and go off and play a game.
Play games
and stuff.
and
like
buy accessories and things in exchange for money.
I mean, that exists now, but in a virtual reality format. So
I was going to say that must be kind of in my mind, that's kind of the beginnings of what they keep pushing as being the metaverse.
Yeah, so PlayStation Home, I believe, is what you're talking about. That got discontinued. It didn't do very well.
Right.
But the concept of it and having your sort of character that can interact with other people playing their games is still a thing. And it's developed to a point where I think it's called Rec Room, which is like you can put your VR headset on and you'll be a 3D model, so you can move around and it will see your arms and moving and everything.
Okay.
But everyone else is also in their VR headsets in this room or in this world.
Okay.
And you can interact and talk to people.
So I remember that PlayStation one. You kind of started off in your own apartment, didn't you?
Yeah, and it was blank. And you had to basically design it and everything.
Yeah. So, I can see the
It's
fun
interesting.
of
You look into the history of that; it didn't do very well at all. But it was like you say.
Didn't we get
was
like a
quite
lobster bucket hat or something?
Yeah, very probably. Very probably.
It was like a bib or something. I can't remember.
Yeah.
It's very strange.
But so games have become now they're just part of everybody's everyday life, aren't they? Because now people obviously you had okay. So you got everything was console based.
Yeah.
But you probably still had your dedicated people doing computer gaming as well.
You still get that
keyboard
now,
gaming,
PC games.
which I never really delved into.
Too many buttons.
But what I was going to say was what probably killed off the handheld sets was the fact that games went onto mobile phones, didn't they?
The App Store killed it.
Yeah. Once you got your mobile phone and you can play games on the mobile, why have the PSP? Why have
the last attempt that I know of for a sort of handheld console,
dedicated handheld one?
Yeah, was the PS Vita, which was kind of like a.
Oh, I think I do recall that.
It was a PSP, but it was a bit more like.
Didn't it? It was just a very small card you with the game on.
Yeah,
put in.
And you could. There was like a touchscreen at the back, which I think kind of carried over to the touchscreen you have in the middle of the PlayStation controller now. It's a similar sort of technology, and there was I think it was PSP Go or something. It was quite before that where you could flip the screen up and you had the little button. So it was like having a little controller with a screen on it.
Yeah, but they basically just got killed because.
But yeah, it would have been the size of your mobile.
It's a Nintendo Switch now that's portable.
So Nintendo Switch is a portable games console, which is probably about the size of like a tablet. But you can.
It's got a controller at each end.
It has a controller at each end and a dock, so you can dock it into your TV and it will cast to your telly, and then you take this controllers off the side. So you can be playing a game in your living room, and then you need to go in for a car journey. Obviously not while you're driving, but click the controllers
in the back.
Yeah, exactly. You take it with you.
And that comes back to what I was saying about Nintendo. They kind of cornered that market of the multiplayer, fun games.
And a lot of the technology from the Wii sort of carried over to the Switch in terms of the controllers. You can play like golf and tennis and things on your TV with the motion controller.
Because there were so many peripherals you could buy for those things, wasn't there?
Yeah.
You could even have a fishing rod. Didn't you see that one with the Big Bang where they were going fishing using the Wii? No?
Yeah. Or the archery one. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
So I'd say that sort of PlayStation Move, Nintendo Wii, even with the Switch now, sort of then transitioned into VR. Obviously, VR is a lot more sort of complicated, but the actual.
Take me on the journey, Jack, because this is where we're at. I mean, now we skipped out on the PlayStation 4.
Yeah.
And.
I mean, PlayStation 4 is VR, so you've got to the point where.
But I know that Zach was playing PS4 with you.
Yeah, I was doing a bit of.
I've now gone beyond my.
I was doing a bit of the VR stuff with you,
and
I just found it like really kind of interesting.
What's your take on the VR?
Like, I think
because it's not how you expect.
I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the experience, and sure, I'd play it, do it again. But I think for me, it needs to get to that point of where it becomes wireless. From the console.
So you've got so we get the headset.
The headset's plugged in.
Right, so where's the wire?
So there's a wire at the back which plugs into the console,
right, so
and it's very long, so you're not really tripping over it as much. But depending on,
I just felt a bit paranoid in that.
Yeah.
Well,
but it
in
is
case you span round and
ripped out the wall. I mean, you punched me once while you were playing.
That was super hot.
Super hot, yeah.
That was a good game.
We'll have to get you on the VR because that'll be an interesting.
My only experience of VR is just watching YouTube videos of people having disasters.
Right.
So where they headbutt the TV, or they're so scared because they're like on a precipice or something, and then next thing they've crashed through the coffee table.
So this isn't necessarily gaming, but you get the sort of plastic VR goggles which you could slide your phone into,
Right.
and you could watch
I've seen
sort of
kind of that.
primitive 3D 360 videos.
Yeah, I remember being on, I think it was when I was working on Paddington 2 down at Pinewood Studios.
Yeah.
And a friend of mine called Chelsea, he had got the latest, I think it was the latest Samsung phone.
Yeah.
Which was being supplied, would I be right? The Samsung brought out a headset that they could slip the phone in.
Yeah.
So I remember him coming back on set the following day and telling me how it was amazing how he could go into like a Swiss lodge, and he could be in this lodge sitting on a settee, and then on the wall in front of him is this massive like 75-inch television screen. And he could look out the window to the left and it's snowing and you got all the trees, and he could watch a movie.
But it's not real.
But it's on this headset with his telephone.
But that is very, very basic.
Right.
That
sounded flipping amazing at the time.
It sounded it. So what that is your phone splits your screen into two, like how 3D works, right?
Okay.
Pushes them together like you get with the blue and your red glasses.
Oh God, that was the old 3D.
Yeah.
Spike it
So
3D.
all this was two lenses that would click that together and make it what appears to be a 3D image. VR does the same thing, but it's in a 3D environment. So like you've experienced, you can see depth. So things have distance and things have scale.
Right.
So you can pick objects up and they have scale. You have obviously like terrain and things which are fully three-dimensional. Whereas with that, it's very much just a flat video.
I
That's
was asking
been
Zak
converted.
about this the other day, and I was kind of like, I don't know. I do want to try these things on, because I was trying to work out is when you've got the headset on, do you just see around you this 3D environment, or with the headset on, are you looking at a miniature screen that's like
No, so you're very much in the environment.
So you don't get that impression you're looking at a screen in front of you?
Not at all. So you have obviously like peripheral vision as well, because obviously the goggles go sort of around.
Okay.
So even in the corner of your eye, you'll see things.
Okay, so as you turn, the whole environment turns.
It's very difficult to explain unless you've tried it.
Do you get travel sickness from that at all?
I don't personally. I know a few people do. The only ones I get are like the driving ones, which are a little bit...
Okay, so if you're playing the game, I'm assuming you can watch what the person is playing on the TV.
Yes, so a cable is dedicated to... It's basically a HDMI cable, so whatever the person sees...
So you're watching a 2D version of
you're
the
seeing
they're in.
You're seeing... So the player who's playing the VR game, you're seeing their left eye.
Right, okay.
So they've got two eyes, hopefully.
Hopefully. Actually, if you've only got one eye, this really buggers
Probably
up.
won't work.
Term depth perception.
So what you see on the screen is the left eye
Right.
and the right eye, and then combined they create the 3D image.
Okay, so that's what they're seeing in the headset.
Yeah.
But on the screen, you're
seeing a
flat
2D version.
But what happens if somebody has a lazy eye?
Okay.
Look, goes sideways.
But we'll definitely do a follow-up sort of VR dedicated episode.
That sounds like a really good idea.
Maybe you need to get Buzz in the headset.
We'll get some footage of your
Don't give
reaction.
me too many violent games,
So-
otherwise I'll wreck the room.
That's why I said it needed to kind of be that
paddle the walls.
wireless version. Because the controllers are wireless. It's just the headset.
I've kind of seen them. They've got like a circular loop on them or something, haven't they?
So that's PlayStation VR 2, which is very, very new. That's come out within the last couple of months.
Okay.
And that actually has haptic feedback in the headset.
Right, so if you die in the game, you die for
Yes.
real.
Oh no.
So
Didn't somebody make that?
with
I don't
Zak's,
want to know.
with Zak's new PlayStation, you'll feel in the controller you'll have haptic feedback, so you'll feel vibrations quite sort of more detailed vibrations.
Yeah, and you have to update the controller, don't you?
Yes, and the triggers will change pressure depending on what sort of activity you're doing. So this technology is now in the VR controllers, and it's also in the VR headset.
So you feel it in your face as well.
So you feel things on your face, like a breeze. If there's a breeze in the game, you'll get like a slight sort of vibration.
Well, that was
on your
what
face.
freaked me out a little bit with the PlayStation 5 when Zak got it, because he said, "Hey, Dad, come on!" I had to blow on the controller, and actually his breath was making things happen on screen.
Yeah.
And did you get when
when
all the little robots fill in the controller and you tip it to the side and you can feel them all?
Yeah.
Did you do that?
Yeah.
That's bizarre. You see, because again, going back to when we first, you mentioned about did I have a controller with the analog sticks on, and then you went to the controller with the analog sticks that had the vibration mode in.
DualShock.
The DualShock. That's it, DualShock. And and that just brought back a memory of a game I really enjoyed playing at the time, and that was Silent Hill.
Right.
Because with Silent Hill, it had like a heartbeat that, as your health went down, the actual feedback you got off it was dum 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 dum. So this control would kind of give you this heartbeat, and because of that feedback, as you got more pressurized, it's like dum 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 dum, and it was really it was brilliant. I absolutely really loved it because you got that kind of that sensory feedback suddenly in your hands.
Yeah.
You know, and
So, yeah.
I'm really keen. I really have not had a go on the PS5, so I'm really interested to find out how.
So I'm playing at the moment. I'm playing a game called Ghost of Tsushima, which is really
I have heard
Ghost of Tsushima.
I've heard that that's really good.
It is amazing.
What is it about? Tell me what it's about.
It's about a samurai.
Okay.
There is actually a Kurosawa mode, which is really cool. So you can switch the game to a Akira Kurosawa mode where everything goes black and white and you look like you're in a samurai film.
Oh wow, nice.
Which is really cool.
Nice.
Won't go into too much detail. Google it if you want to know any more about the plot. But there are a lot of segments where you're like riding a horse or walking through mud or walking through.
Is this very much like whatchamacallit? Skyrim.
I wondered if Skyrim was going to come.
Skyrim, yeah.
Similar in terms of like you're sort of
free
exploring
roaming
with a character and you're building up his points and you're getting weapons and you're defeating, saving people, whatever. But with the haptic feedback in the controller, like you were saying with the heartbeat, there's a similar thing where you'll notice it if you play any more sort of PS5 games. Depending on what surface the character's walking on, the vibration will be slightly different.
So if he's on gravel.
If he's on gravel, it'll be a more sort of
Wow.
sharper vibration. If he's walking on mud, it'll be more of like a softer rumble, which is really
crazy.
That's crazy that
So-
they should be able to do that.
Something that's like so detailed to even notice that.
Yeah,
That's
and
good,
it's
that's good. Yeah,
it's all
amazing.
about the immersion of the game, isn't it? Which I think is what people want for games. They want escapism and they want to be.
Do you think that's kind of the way games are going? That people want to, you just summed it up, escape.
Yeah.
And have the immersion, but can that kind of take over from the gameplay? Because, as I say, nobody mentioned Skyrim, so let's mention Skyrim.
Okay.
Because
We're going down the rabbit hole,
We
guys.
all know about this.
I'll sit back for this one for the next 2 hours.
Because it's such a free roaming environment, and you can go everywhere, and you've got all the DLCs you can buy for
to
it.
put it into perspective, Skyrim, it does have a main kind of campaign, which you can complete. But there is so much you can continually do that essentially you will never complete the game. So you can spend hours upon hours upon days upon years. And I burnt through about 3 PS3s playing Skyrim.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. You kind of somebody who wants to be immersed in the world.
Yeah.
Has that become more important than actually getting on a platform game and going jump, 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 dodge, jump, bash, bash.
That's
jump,
why
jump,
we see.
jump. Is it really the immersion that is becoming?
I think that's why we see so many genres now of games. Because I this will be no interest to any of you, but FIFA, like I watch football and
He knows as well. We're not football fans.
But if I want a quick, like sort of just bit of entertainment, I'll go on FIFA and play a few games. Whereas if I want to really escape and be immersed into a game, then I'll play something like Tsushima or Skyrim or something like that, where I can just sit for a few hours and just sort of really get into the story. Like sort of, it's like almost like watching your own interactive film in a way. One of the questions I wanted to sort of pose was, why do we play games? What is it that, as humans, why are we fascinated with this escapism and this immersion?
Good question.
Is it to add a bit of spice to your life?
Well, yeah, I don't play games as much as I used to. Yeah, I would sit through and play Resident Evil from beginning to end. Love that game. And I would play Tomb Raider from the beginning to the end. But as the years have gone by, I've kind of gotten out of gameplay. Yeah. And I don't get kind of pulled back. And now I'm at the stage where I think that if I go and sit down in front of the TV and I play a game and become so immersed in it that I'm spending hours playing that game, I'm now thinking how much of my life I am missing in the real world. Yeah. So I kind of feel like I don't want to immerse myself in a fantasy when I enjoy the real world. So,
but isn't that like
could
the
it
same
be a bit
as
of catharsis? Maybe
reading a fantasy book is the same sort of.
Yeah, reading a book. Reading a book. Yeah, I suppose you're within a live action. Could you call it that? Because you're controlling the character in this environment, allowing you to ride, walk,
Fight.
wherever you want to go.
Yeah.
So I suppose, yes, it is a bit like if you're sitting there reading a book and having a bit of escapism. So, yeah, I suppose probably that's got to be what it boils down to, escapism.
Yeah.
But for me, it would have to be moderated, because I just wouldn't want to spend hours doing something and then come away from it
And
think, I've just lost so
a
much
lot,
time.
a lot of these games are then designed to keep you playing as well.
That's
I
the
suppose
draw,
that's the
isn't
thing. Maybe it's me just trying to play the avoidance card for fear of going down the rabbit hole.
So a lot of these
Skyrim. Just don't.
Well,
you finish a mission and you get given a weapon that's cooler, and you're like, try this weapon
just
on the
gonna
next
try it out,
mission.
yeah.
And then
So when I've played Call of Duty, which I have, I've enjoyed playing that game. I've enjoyed sniping people. I've enjoyed all the different guns and everything you get to play with, and the zombie games on it are just unbelievably brilliant. But then I go and play something like Skyrim or any fantasy.
Well, that doesn't
game.
end.
No, but any game that's got swordplay in it,
Yeah.
and it just isn't real for me, because it's just.
I do get that. I get what you're saying there.
It just doesn't. It's just like
The mechanics.
The
I've got
is
the
not-
game for you.
Yeah.
It's called Gorn.
Can I actually have a real sword?
Yes.
Oh,
Sort of.
I played that, didn't?
Yeah.
Isn't that the one where
I
you
would need
actually
to be
control the walking, but with the hand controls?
Yeah. So in Gorn, you're basically a gladiator, and you're fighting other
Do you
meat props.
want your TV to survive?
It's very satisfying, sort of dismembering
Yeah.
people. But
Yeah.
Okay. We need to come back. And do
We'll play
it.
Gorn. We'll play
Okay.
Gorn.
is the future of games purely VR, or do you think there will be a sort of a resurgence of sort of handheld games? Or
I don't know. I think we touched briefly upon this in our AI podcast, where if you're to believe that we are going to, as a race, human race, are going to go down the road of metaverse, where people are going to be going on a daily basis to work in the metaverse. You're going to get up and you're going to be from home, logging in,
The Oasis.
having virtual meetings in the metaverse, doing your paid work in the metaverse. But outside of that, you're spending your leisure time in the metaverse watching movies instead of going to the cinema. And the cinema becomes maybe like a really kind of special treat out kind of retro experience, and you're playing your games because you're going to different game zones in the metaverse. Then I can see how people's lives are going to be within that's going to dominate everything.
yeah,
If the metaverse actually happens the way they describe it.
And it's looking that way, yeah.
Yeah, we shall see.
so we've pretty much given like a broad history of gaming. Up
Yeah,
to,
games we've enjoyed.
to where we are.
I've enjoyed this episode, and I think we need
There's
to
definitely more to
we
unpack.
need to revisit this, because I need to experience this VR,
Yes, we'll do a part 2 with the VR.
because
Yeah.
I can't comment on it. So I'd like to try it out, so I can actually then come back and say, okay, I destroyed Jack's lounge and he's never going to let me back in the house again.
That's why Jack isn't in this podcast today, because he's still
I'm
repairing the damage.
Well, it's an amazing. I love VR because it's given me like really good memories, because I've put my granddad in it before, and I've got a game.
Get me, Granddad.
I've got a game where you do the Apollo mission, and you sit in the shuttle, you go to the moon, you get to hop around on the moon, which Granddad would never have got a chance to do. And then there's another version like the Titanic VR. So
Right.
we got
So
to go down
You're
and
telling me things I didn't even know.
Didn't we
existed.
play Rick and Morty VR?
there's a Rick and Morty VR. Yeah,
That was crazy.
Planet of the Apes was a good
No.
one. Yeah.
Well, actually, you have
cool.
again. We can keep talking about this, but I didn't know those things existed. Which means that, for example, if you're a person who isn't able to travel, a person that is, whether it might be just financially, it might be disability
if
or
it's
something. If you've
Wally
got the
and you're in the
opportunity-
floaty chairs.
yeah, but if you've got the opportunity to go and go and visit the pyramids of the Aztecs in South America, and to walk around them, or to go to places in the world that you would otherwise never get the opportunity to, and you're immersed into that, and it's so lifelike, then I think that's quite an amazing thing to be able to do.
The Titanic VR is it's quite relevant now with the submarine story that we've had recently.
Yeah.
Oh dear,
But you
maybe
can
they
go
should have
down.
Just use VR.
You can go down in the submarine, and you've got a full-scale 3D model of the Titanic wreckage that you can sink into, and it's all fully 3D. So you can find the staircase, and you can find all of the iconic parts.
Leonardo DiCaprio.
It's like floating there.
So I love VR. And I find VR really fascinating.
Yeah, okay, we'll give it a go. We'll give it a go. That's it, listeners.
There we are.
Listeners, Buzz is going to throw his hat in the ring and try out VR.
And there is a
What kind of
Skyrim.
disaster's going to happen?
There is a Skyrim VR which Zak has tried as well.
I have tried that, but I didn't find it the same because you're doing all like the moving with your feet, like with the hand controllers, which kind of.
Oh, do you have to walk on the spot?
Well, you don't. It doesn't matter what your legs actually do. You have to kind of use the controllers to walk,
right, okay.
as well as interact with everything. So you very much.
Okay.
So some games are like you'll do that, but other games you're sort of stationary and things are happening to you. Like the Batman one is pretty. The Arkham one.
Yeah.
Okay, I can see there's a lot
Suit
to
up
go.
as Batman.
Righty-ho. Okay, that's fantastic. What a trip down memory lane.
And then there's loads more we could discuss. Before we get into the next segment, which is everyone's favourite segment,
Okay.
do you want to name your all-time favourite video game?
Ooh, that's a hard one.
I haven't even thought of my answer.
Okay.
Because you see, that's a difficult one. Because immediately my mind is saying different categories of game. Because I kind of want to say, this is my best driving game, this is my best adventure game, this is my best puzzle game.
Let's just chuck some out. Let's just chuck some out there then. Instead of just one, let's chuck
Three for me. I know that Dad loves the Lara Croft Tomb Raider games, and I grew up with those when he was playing.
I mean, they're still coming out on PlayStation now. So
the one I really got into was Tomb Raider Underworld, where you got Thor's hammer and you fought frost giants, which was really cool.
Did you get a platinum trophy on that? I think, didn't you? Or
I'm one trophy away, and it's like the hardest one ever.
Okay.
Time Splitters Future Perfect. I really enjoyed the storyline on that. But I think by sheer amount of playtime, Skyrim is probably the big one for me.
Mm-hmm. Well, you've already mentioned mine, Tomb Raider. Absolutely.
Which one?
All the ones I've played. Let's put it that way.
Tomb Raider Anniversary was pretty good.
Yeah, I enjoyed that.
When they remastered like the T-Rex and stuff.
The fact is to be able to just be in that environment. And again, that probably goes back to when you're playing these more advanced games that I haven't played. But to be in that environment where you can look around, take your time, and then there are puzzles. It's just not all action. You know, shoot. I like puzzles. Tomb Raider, and obviously I've mentioned Wipeout. There's not a Wipeout game that I haven't really enjoyed. I'll probably say Resident Evil.
Nice.
Some of the later games were a bit iffy, but I really, really enjoyed Resident Evil when it came out.
Was that the first one?
The first one. And the second one.
You would really enjoy Rise of Tomb Raider, which is a prequel, and it's very much like bushcraft survival side. So you have to really survive in the wilderness.
All right, do I get the haptic feedback as I'm rubbing the controllers together to make fire?
What's he doing up in my room?
rubbing.
And you got Shadow of the Tomb Raider, which is the sequel, which I've not played, but I can't recommend.
Okay, so you recommend those?
Yes.
Okay.
So you're getting all these sounds from the bedroom going, come on, I'm getting there.
I am playing a game.
I'm trying to make fire.
I'm watching Lara Croft.
It's the haptic feedback, okay?
Oh dear. Anyway.
Yes. So let's move on.
We've got to move on now
To everyone's favourite segment.
Is it back?
It is back.
Yes.
Oh my god.
Here it
Let's-
comes.
I'm so excited.
I am.
Are we ready
Yes, we are.
to get quizzical?
Let's get quizzical. I want to get quizzical. Let's get into quizzical. Let you hear your
gaming
mind
talk.
Oh, gaming talk. There you go. Is that what it's about this time? Gaming.
Well,
Must
that
be.
would make sense.
It would
do,
make
really.
sense.
It would make sense. He starts asking us about the royal family.
Uh-oh.
So, I think we did this a couple of episodes ago,
Okay.
where I found some fake movie titles
That's it, yeah.
and some real movie titles, and we
Yeah,
had to.
fake games.
Was this the physical media versus streaming
I
one?
believe it was, yes. So, I've done the same thing, where I have a list of 10 real or fake video game titles.
I am going to lose on this one.
Oh, yeah.
Because I have no idea.
So, for all of these, I've given the release date, the genre, and the console that they were released on.
Okay.
So, even the fake ones,
Okay.
I've made up.
Wow. You really do go to town on this, don't you?
So,
That's why we love your quizzical segment.
How many questions are there?
there are 10.
Come on,
Okay.
let's
So,
go.
I'll read the title.
Join in at home.
I'll read the title. If you're not sure, then I'll read the rest of the information.
Okay.
Okay. Question 1. Big Mother Truckers 2, Truck Me Harder.
Sorry. This sounds like the other
What
episode again.
platform?
So, it's an action racing game on the PS2 and Xbox from 2005.
False.
False.
It is real.
What?
How is that real?
How's that? I've never heard
That
of
is
that.
a
Oh,
real
no.
game. Okay, question
Trust me hard.
question 2. Fat worm blows a sparky.
Fat worm blows a sparky.
Fat worm blows a sparky.
Is
So
that-
this was an action game on the ZX Spectrum from 1986.
True.
I'm going to go with true as well.
It is true.
Yeah,
Correct.
one each.
Hold on.
Question 3. The Muncher.
Yeah, that's true.
What are you going with, Zach?
False.
It is real.
Yeah.
It's actually. Do you remember Chewits, the sweets?
The monster, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's basically like a Godzilla game, but it's the Chewits
Chewits
monster
Oh, wow.
from 1988.
I think I've heard
I want that.
Number 4, Ring Blaster.
Is this an 18?
It's a fantasy fighting game from the PS1 2002.
Ring Blaster.
It's your like
No, that's got to be
fake,
false.
like,
Again,
facial expression.
you brought back a memory I've forgotten all about.
I'm not sure.
Battle Arena Toshinden, which was again another
Oh,
favourite of mine.
another one. Yeah,
I
that's
used
good.
to love Battle Arena Toshinden.
Tekken. Did you ever play Tekken?
Tekken as
Yeah,
well.
Tekken
yeah,
2.
Tekken, Tekken 2.
Classic.
And no, I'm going to say false on that.
And what's it called?
Ring Blaster.
Ring Blaster.
I'm gonna go with it is real.
It is fake.
Yes.
Oh no, you said you were gonna lose. You're 2 ahead of me.
Yay.
Number
Thanks for
5,
change.
Spanky's Quest.
Spanky's Quest.
That's gotta be false.
I don't know, because like if it was an American
I mean, the
release-
mother trucker one or whatever it
But
is.
if it was an American release, you know what it's like in America. They use like, so they could do like, what was it called, Spanky's Quest.
Spanky's
In,
Quest.
in America, they could say Spunky's Quest.
No, stop.
Yeah, but-
Why?
no,
Why would
no,
you say that?
Because it's perfectly normal in America.
Is it?
Yeah, spunky.
God.
If you got lost,
Stop saying it.
if you're a spunky kind of guy.
Oh god.
So I
Spunky,
think
isn't
if it was American
That's not the
release.
title though.
No, it's Spanky. Okay, but we laugh at Spanky, but maybe in America you wouldn't laugh at Spanky. So I'm going to say it's true.
Zach.
False.
It is real.
Yay!
goodness
I'm
sake.
pulling out ahead, just
On
like you
Sorry.
I'm pulling out ahead.
Yes, yeah,
Is it a boy or girl?
No, just like on Wipeout. I'm getting out there. You're gonna have to use a quake to slow me down.
So that
Or
was
Lich Beam.
that was on the.
Stop laughing at me, you spunky boy.
Why would you say that?
Have we reached a record for the amount of times we've said spunky in an episode?
Yes.
Come on.
So that was on
It's
the.
not a rude word if you're
It is.
American.
So Spanky's Quest was
Real.
the Super Nintendo 1991.
Yay!
Number 6, Touch Dick.
Honestly.
Which platform?
Come on.
It was
Is this a VR game?
it was the Nintendo DS 2005.
Touch dick. I'm gonna say you would not make that up. I'm gonna say it's real.
I'm going to say it's real too.
It is real.
What?
So basically,
Dick.
it was supposed to be a pocket dictionary that you'd have on your DS. They called it Touch Dick. Okay.
Oh, God.
Number 7,
Number 7.
Rex Nebula and the Cosmic Gender Bender.
False.
False.
It's an action adventure game from 1992.
Oh.
It was
Oh,
real.
It was real. Oh, wow. Back on that one.
Rex Nebula and the Cosmic Gender Bender.
Nope.
Number 8,
Number 8.
I Am Bread.
I am bread. That's got to be real.
Real.
It is real. It is a
Is it?
bread simulator, and it was released on
Bread simulator.
it was released on the PS4 and Xbox in
You could
2015.
make bread.
Oh my God.
No, you are the bread.
Oh, you are the what? Did you become a baguette? Or something? Yeah, you start off as like a bun. And have to
What?
become a farmhouse loaf.
I think you genuinely control each corner of the bread, so you have to climb up and get into the toaster and things.
Oh, no.
Why would a bread want to do that?
That sounds like that film Sausage Party.
Oh,
Oh, don't watch that.
that's horrid.
Okay, number 9,
Number 9.
Super Gadget Slapper.
Super Gadget Slapper.
Why are you getting these titles?
It was
Okay.
a platform on the Super Nintendo from 1995.
Super Gadget Slapper. I reckon it's true.
True.
It is false.
Oh. Well done for making that one up.
It just sounded like a game that would be a title.
It is.
Super Gadget Slapper.
Number 10.
You play it alongside Touch Dick.
I think Buzz is winning this one, but we'll
Yeah,
go.
I can't believe it.
You're actually winning something.
Yeah.
Okay, the final one.
Go.
The Astonishing Adventures of Mr. Weems and the She-Vampires.
False.
True.
It is true.
Yes!
It's on the Commodore 64.
Commodore 64. Gotta
1987.
love your Commodore
Oh,
64.
no.
Thank you for the win.
So in second place we have me with,
How many
with the
points?
grand score of 3. And then
yes.
the winner
Wiping out the front there with my machine guns,
with
mines.
a grand total of 7.
There you go. I laid my mines. You ran into the mines. Boom, boom, boom.
Laid down some
I went
pipe.
round the track. Leech beamed you. Bam. Got my
Got your what?
my shield on. You know, you couldn't touch me.
How can you have
Of
your
course.
shield? What? How many times are you going over these little things?
And I was boom. I was straight there with my turbo boost. across
First
the
place.
finish line.
Pole position.
There you go.
A wipeout reference.
Exactly. There we go.
There we are.
That's the
Yay.
end of this week's episode and Quizzical.
If you enjoyed this podcast, please like and subscribe to this channel and comment below any suggestions of topics or activities you'd like to listen to in future episodes. That's a big time splitters goodbye from Zak.
That's a big goodbye from Buzz.
And that's a mother trucking goodbye from Jack.
Goodbye.
You can find the Now We Know Show podcast on YouTube, Spotify, Amazon Music, and Apple Podcasts. Check out the Zak Wylde Productions social media pages on Instagram and Facebook, or visit the Zak Wylde Productions website at www.zakwyldeproductions.com. Please get in contact. We'd love to find out how you're listening to us. So get in touch in the comments, and don't forget to check out Zak Wylde Productions on Patreon to become an official ZWP patron today.